Ezekiel at a Glance, podcast on glory, judgment, and restoration. The red recording light glowed above the studio door, while 5 scholars sat around a large oak table fitted with high-quality microphones and headphones. Soft acoustic panels absorbed every breath and page turn. Dr. Thomas Whitaker, host of the podcast Prophets in Exile, leaned forward with practiced warmth and welcomed listeners to an episode dedicated to a rough outline of the Book of Ezekiel. He introduced the panel: Dr. Elias Vargas, biblical theologian; Dr. James Harlan, ancient Near East historian; Dr. Samuel Lang, literary critic; Dr. Marcus Reed, cultural psychologist; and Dr. Michael Levinson, scholar of Second Temple Judaism and rabbinic literature. Dr. Harlan opened with the historical setting of 597 BC, when King Jehoiachin and thousands of Judean elites were deported to Babylon, and Ezekiel, himself an exiled priest, received his prophetic call by the Chebar canal. Dr. Lang described the astonishing opening vision in chapters 1 through 3. 4 living creatures with faces of a man, lion, ox, and eagle, wheels within wheels full of eyes, and above them a crystal firmament supporting a sapphire throne where the glory of the Lord appeared. Dr. Vargas declared that from the very first chapter, God's glory is revealed as mobile and sovereign, present with the exiles rather than locked inside Jerusalem's temple. Dr. Reed noted the psychological shock of displaced people suddenly encountering divine glory outside the Holy Land, while Dr. Levinson offered a brief rabbinic reflection on the power of Merkabah mysticism. The host guided short exchanges that framed chapters 1 to 3 as the launch point for the glory's remarkable journey. Dr. Vargas carried the conversation into the long central section of judgment on Judah and oracles against the nations, chapters 4 through 32. He described the dramatic sign acts Ezekiel performed and the devastating vision in chapters 8 through 11, where the glory of the Lord gradually departed the temple, lifting from the cherubim, moving to the threshold and east gate, and finally leaving the city entirely because of rampant idolatry and sin. Yet even in judgment the glory did not vanish. It relocated with the exiles. Dr. Harlan supplied the Babylonian political context that made the oracles against surrounding nations necessary. Dr. Lang highlighted the sharp literary turning point at chapter 33 after Jerusalem fell in 586 BC. Right at that pivot, Dr. Lang pointed out the striking human detail that the exiles treated Ezekiel as entertainment. They came to him as people gather to hear a singer of love songs, their mouths full of interest, while their hearts pursued dishonest gain. Dr. Reed expanded on the psychological denial at work, explaining how superficial listening masked deep trauma and stubborn resistance to true repentance. Quick rebuttals and clarifications passed around the table as the scholars agreed that such hardened hearts made the unrelenting judgments tragically necessary. Hope began to rise as the panel turned to the final movement of restoration in chapters 33 through 48. Dr. Vargas described the Valley of Dry Bones in chapter 37, where scattered skeletons came together, sinews formed, breath entered, and a vast army stood alive, picturing national revival. He then moved to the climactic temple vision where the glory of the Lord returned from the east and filled the temple once more, with God declaring this as the place of his throne forever. Dr. Reed spoke of the profound psychological healing that accompanies restored divine presence. Dr. Lang praised the beautiful literary symmetry that answered the opening throne vision with the closing temple vision, while Dr. Harlan noted the historical echoes reaching into the early Persian Restoration period. Dr. Vargas turned directly to Dr. Levinson and asked him to address the public scholarly struggle over whether Ezekiel should even remain in the canon, especially because the detailed temple measurements in chapters 40 through 48 appeared to contradict Torah. Dr. Levinson paused, the microphone catching the thoughtful silence, then spoke candidly of his early career crisis when he had nearly sided with ancient Talmudic voices who questioned the book's place. The apparent conflicts once felt irreconcilable to him. Deeper study, particularly Rabbi Hananiah ben Hezekiah's legendary labor, had convinced him of the book's unity. What ultimately settled the matter was the return of the glory. Without the final vision, the painful departure would stand as the last word. But Ezekiel boldly declares that God's glory will return, the temple will be rebuilt, and worship will be restored in holiness. The host helped the panel draw the mighty arc together, from the glory's sovereign mobility shown in the opening vision amid exile, through its heartbreaking departure in judgment, to its triumphant return in the restored temple. This movement revealed both God's uncompromising holiness and his unwavering faithfulness to his people. The scholars converged on the enduring message that God's glory still departs from compromised worship yet promises to return to a purified people. Dr. Levinson delivered the final measured line: "The departure of glory is never the end, for its return remains the sure promise." The host thanked the guests warmly, teased the next episode, and let the theme music swell gently as the scholars lingered in quiet conversation long after the recording light dimmed.